paragraph. I sent a messenger up to the mountain for Don Anselmo. It took a week to arrange another meeting. When he arrived, he repeated his previous preliminary performance. He wore the same faded cutaway, hands the same stick, and was accompanied by the boy again. So, Americans had come with a complaint saying that the children are overrunning their property. They're putting the fence around the trees, collecting the blossom, and they cannot live peacefully. So again, the author had sent word to Anselmo to come to his office. And again, he took his own time to come to his office. He took a week. Means he took another 1 week to come to his office. And when he came to office, your author's office, he repeated the same performance. That is, he had worn the same old green faded coat, and he carried the same stick, that is a worn out umbrella, and he was accompanied. That means he was with him. There was a dark young man, and he shook hand all around. So he came and he shook hand with everyone in the office, sat down, and the boy sat down with the boy behind his chair and talked about the weather. So again they sat to talk, to have a discussion. Finally, I broached the subject. Broached means author raised. He raised the subject. Don Anselmo, about the ranch. Ranch means a large farm. So, author has begun his conversation with the Anselmo. He says, Don Anselmo. Don means, as I told earlier, Sir Anselmo. About the ranch, that is about your large farm. You sold to these people. So he says that we are today here to talk about your large farm that you had sold to these Americans. They are good people and they wanted to be your good neighbors always. When you sold to them, you signed a document, a deed, and in that deed you agreed to several things. One thing was that they were to have the complete possession of the property. So he's trying to make understand to Anselmo, where he says that we are here to talk about your large farm, and you had sold this large farm to these Americans, and you have signed the document, and you have also mentioned there that this property, that means they have a complete possession, that means a control. These Americans have a complete control over the property. Now, Don Anselmo, it seems that every day the children of the village, overrun the orchard and spend most of the time there. And you would like to know if you, as the most respected man of the village, could not stop them from doing so that these people might enjoy their new home more in peace. So he is requesting, as you are a respectable person in the Rio and Medio, so he is telling that you had sold the land, and according to the agreement the property belongs to these Americans, and now they have a complaint, that is the children are overrunning their property and they are not able to live in peace. So they are requesting, Don Anselmo, as you are a most respectable person in the village, can't you stop these children coming over there, from doing, in order so that these people can live in peace. Don Anselmo stood up. When they requested Don Anselmo to stop these children to come to their ranch, so he stood up. We have all learned to love these Americans, he said. So he stood up and said that we have all learned, and we all learn means we have all know that these Americans are very good people, and they are good neighbors, and I sold them my property because I knew they were good people. So he stood up and said all these things. He said that we know, that means we all know that these Americans are very good people and the good neighbors, and that's why I sold the property to them. But I did not sell the trees in the orchard. So make it clear that he sold his property, and he says that he did not sell the trees in the orchard. So the trees, he says that it does not belong to him. Okay, he says that I sold only the property, but he did not sell the trees in the orchard. So that's why these children are coming there, they are overrunning and they are playing and collecting the blossom. Okay, so he said he has sold the property, but he did not sell the trees in the orchard. Okay, 10th paragraph. This was bad, Don Anselmo. So the storyteller felt very bad. I pleaded, so he begged. When one signs a deed, when one signs an agreement and sells the property, one sells also everything that grows on the land. It means he is making clear to Don Anselmo, is making to understand Don Anselmo that once when you have sold the property and you have signed the agreement, so everything in that property belong to the person. Okay, every one of them are on the land and inside the boundaries of what you sold. So he's trying to say that everything, okay, that grows on the land, trees, every one of them were on the land and inside the boundaries of them were sold. So he's making to understand him that once you have sold the property, everything that is inside the boundary of that land is belong to that person. Yes, I admit that, he said. You know, he added, yes, I admit. Okay, so Anselmo says that yes, I agree. Okay, I am the oldest man in the village. So he is telling that he is the oldest man in that village. Almost everyone there is my relative. So he says that everyone in the Rio and Medio are his relatives. And all the children of the Rio and Medio are my sobrinos and nietos. Sobrinos means niece and nephews. So he says that he is the old man. And everyone in the Rio and Medio are his relatives. That is, every child, all the children of the Rio and Medio are his sobrinos. Sobrinos means niece and nietos, nephews. Okay, niece and nephews. My descendant, that means a group of people related to the family. So he says that everyone, all the children in that Rio and Medio are his niece and nephews and their descendant. That means the family members. Every time a child was born, so he's trying to say that why the trees are not belong to him. Okay, he says that everyone in the family, that is in that Rio and Medio, that means every child in the Rio and Medio are his nephews and niece and the descendant, that is the family members. Every time a child has been born, so he's telling to author that every time a child is born in the Rio and Medio, since I took possession means control of the boundary, that means of the house, since he took the control of the house property, okay, from his mother, from my mother, I have planted a tree for that child. Okay, he says why the tree is in the orchard or not his. He says that every child in the Rio and Medio are his sobrinos and nietos, it is nephews and niece. Okay, and he also says that from the time that he took the possession, that means control of the house from his mother, so whenever a child has born, he had planted a tree for that child. Okay, he had planted a tree for that child, and thus the tree in the orchard is not mine. So he says, he made it clear that the trees in the orchard are not his, because from the day he took the possession of the house, okay, and whenever the child in the Rio and Medio is born, he planted a tree in the name of that child. So he says the trees are not his. Okay, the tree in that orchard is not mine. Okay, senar means, it is again the Spanish word. It means in English Mr. Senar, Mr. They belong to the children of the village. Okay, every person in Rio and Medio born since the railroad. Okay, so he says that Mr. they belong to the children. So the plants in the orchard are not mine and they belong to the children. So every time, that means every person in the Rio and Medio born since the railroad came to Santa Fe. That means Santa Fe is a village in Mexico, that is in United States. Okay, it says that every person in the Rio and Medio born since the railroad has come in the Santa Fe. Okay, a tree has been planted in the name of the child, and that child owns a tree in that orchard. I think you all understood. He says that he sold only his property and he did not sell the trees in the orchard, and that's why the children there, they come every day, they play under the tree and put the fence around and collect the blossom. This is the one which was disturbing the Americans. So they have come with the complaint to solve this. Okay, so they called Anselmo, and he said that he sold only his property and he did not sell the trees in the orchard, and he's also giving the reason why he did not sell the trees. He says that the day that he had taken the possession, that means the control or in charge of the house from his mother, and whenever the child is born in the Rio and Medio, a tree is been planted in the name of the child, and so those trees in the orchard are not his. Okay, and every person in the Rio and Medio born since the railroad. Okay, every person was born the day the railroad had come to Santa Fe. He had planted the tree. So I did not sell the tree because I could not. They are not mine. So he made it clear that. So he says, I did not sell the tree because I could not. They are not mine. So he says, I cannot do it because those trees are not his. I think you all understood the reason why he did not sell the tree and what is the reason behind that. 12th paragraph. There was nothing we could do. So these people were nothing they could do. Legally they owned the trees. So these Americans legally they owned the tree, but old man had been so generous. Okay, so generous and so kind, refusing what amounted to a fortune for him. What amounted to a fortune for him. That means when they had discovered that he possessed double the land, and the Americans offered him the double amount, so that time he refused, right? Americans finally they made a discovery. They were offered, that means they offered the double amount to this Anselmo, but what did he do? He refused. Okay, he did not accept. So this line says that he was so generous. That means when he was offered the double amount, he gently, that means he was very kind and refused that amount when it had come to his fortune, when it had come to his luck. Okay, and it took most of the following winter. That means the following winter. That means it took most of the following winter, means 1 year. Okay, to buy the trees individually from the descendant of Don Anselmo in the valley of Rio and Medio. So finally the Anselmo has refused by saying that he can't do anything because those trees are not his and it is the belongs to the children of the Rio and Medio. So now, though these Americans illegally own the property, but the trees are not belong to them. So now what did they do? They spend, that means it took for them to buy those trees individually from each child. Okay, so it took most of the following year. It took 1 year to buy the trees individually from the descendant of Don Anselmo in the valley of Rio and Medio. I think you